This is James P. White from 95.7 Cruise FM, The Locker Room. Welcome to the Jedi Jimmy podcast. This is episode number 36, Andor episode number 9. There are only 3 episodes left. This is getting good. Now, the name of this episode is called Nobody's Listening. So, Deidre is a very, very evil woman. You know, she's part of the ISB for the Empire. And she was interrogating Bex. And basically she said she was going to torture her till she got everything and she wasn't going to stop. And even if it killed her or drove her insane. But then at this point we are introduced to a brand new character. His name is Dr. Gorst. Now he is the one that is running the machine that's torturing Bix during this episode. And so how they torture is, he was talking about this massacre. It was on a planet called Dizon Frey. They were uprising against the Empire, and they basically massacred the entire people. But they actually recorded it for proof that they did what they said they were going to do. And the sound of the Dizonites being slaughtered with such high pitch, it's a really insane sound that the people that listen to it lose their minds. So he's using that sound. But he used a refined version of the sound of the children being slaughtered. It's even more gut-wrenching and just drove people insane. And so we go from her being tortured at this point to Andor is trying to plan an escape with some of the other prisoners, but he is running into issues. He doesn't have enough information, but at one point, I'm not sure how this is going to fit in his escape, but on the floor, he goes to the washroom where he's cutting a pipe back there. I don't know exactly what the pipe does, but it's going to be a huge part of his escape. And they also found by observing that the elevator that brings people down to the floor is not electrified. So there's something they can do there when they're bringing prisoners in. He also found out that there's a number of people that won't help him at this point because they're afraid of being caught and it's going to get real. Now, during the torture scene, they go back to torturing Bix, and she is so distraught and in horrible shape that the sound that they used to torture her got her to spill the beans on everything about what she knows about the Rebel Network, everything she knows about Cassian, everything. And it's insane. Now we jump to Mon Mothma. So again, this episode does follow basically 3 areas. We're going from Ferrex and the ISB, the prison, and then also Mon Mothma in the Senate. So Mon Mothma is at the Senate, and she's trying to bring the senators together to help get rid of the PORD, which is the increase of power of the Empire, but nobody's listening to her. Everybody's ignoring her. And then as she's leaving, she finds out that her cousin is at the embassy or at her house. And oddly enough, her cousin is Vel, part of the rebellion that helps with the attack at the attack earlier on the payroll. Now we jump back to the prison, and there's a huge alert at the prison, like all the alarms, everybody's being, sequestered in their areas. And Cassian is really pushing to try to get more information to help with the escape. He's really trying hard here. And people that are disagreeing with him on trying to escape, they keep saying to him, they're listening. And he goes, no, they don't care about us. They don't listen. They think they're invulnerable. And it's getting real. Now, Deidre relayed all the information from the interrogation of Bix to the ISB, in which she also explained that she had no idea who the head of the rebellion is, but she's also said that they're watching Andor's mother, Marva, very, very closely and constantly. So we go back to the prison, and we find out that the huge alert that they were dealt with earlier was actually the Unit 2-5. So that's, again, another floor where they're doing work. Everybody was killed. Everybody was fried. So the Empire killed 100 men just like that, basically frying them, so using the electrified floor and destroying them all. Now we jump to Cyril, who's also on Coruscant. He's trying to get Deidre Mira to help him help her. He wants to join the ISB. He wants to join the investigation on Ferrix and find Cassian Andor. But she threatens him and says, quit following me, leave me alone. You're not part of this. Now, Mon Mothma is still trying very hard to get more money to help with the rebellion and help with helping people. So she's told that she needs to talk to Davos Skulden. She knew him before. He's a banker, and he's very rich. But what they're trying to do is replace the money that she took out before for other rebel help, so that the Empire doesn't find out that she has that much money missing, like 400,000 credits. So we jump back to the ISB, and Deidre, they find out about a rebel pilot that was captured. Not only do the ISB kill the pilot, but they rigged the ship to make it look like it was an accident, because they're trying to lure out one of the factions of the rebels, which is Anton Krieger's group. So they're trying to lure them out. It's a trap. Jumping back to the prison, Olaf, he's a friend of, or he's on the same group as Andor, on the same table. He's the really, really old guy. He basically died during shift. He had a stroke, and when the doctor came, he said he's unfixable, and basically gave him a drug that killed him. But the doctor said, you guys have to keep in line. You have to do what the Empire is saying, because the men on the floor, the men that died, they were killed because one of the prisoners that was supposed to be released was just brought right back and sent to another floor. So they started to stand up against the guards, and they killed them all. The doctor basically said, if you think you're getting released, you're not. They just move you to a different part of the prison. Nobody leaves that prison. So at that point, Kino Loy, He's the head of the floor the Cassian is on. He's played by Andy Serkis. And he's like, okay, I will give you details, Andor. So he was telling him like how many guards per floor and types of weapons and stuff. So my favorite quotes, I will actually go through all the quotes so far from this episode. I actually liked his quote. It was, the less they think we know, the better. Episode 8, this was from Luthen. Oppression breeds rebellion. Episode 7, which is Mon Mothma. I show you the stone in one hand, but you miss the knife in my other that I have at your throat. Episode 6 is Vel. One path, one choice, we win or everybody dies. Episode 5 is Skeen. The axe forgets, but the tree always remembers. Now, my predictions so far. So previous predictions during my episode 29 podcast, The History of Andor, I said Saw Gerrera was going to be in this series, and he was. He showed up last episode. In episodes 1, 2, and 3, my prediction there was that Mon Mothma was going to be one of the leaders of the rebellion, and she is. She's part of the Rebel Alliance, and I said she was going to be in the next episode, so that was episode 4, and she was. Now, I also said we could possibly see Lando Calrissian, a younger version of Han Solo, or even Chewbacca, or all three, since this is 5 years after the Solo A Star Wars movie. It could still happen. I also predicted that Agent Kallus may appear, but he might not show up until the next season, but that's still going to happen. Also, in episode 4, I said the attack was going to happen in episode 5. It didn't happen at that point. It happened in episode 6. And then in episode 5, I predicted that it was going to happen in 6, and it did. And I also said that there will be a Jedi that does show up in the series. Probably Galen Merrick, codenamed Starkiller. Now, episode 6, my predictions were that Andor does escape and go back to the group. He hasn't escaped yet, and he's probably not going back to the group since most of them are dead, and Vel is actually trying to kill him. And I also feel that during this series, the Ghost from Rebels, so that ship from Rebels, may be involved in the series, possibly even in Andor's escape. Now, episode 7, I said Mon Mothma will officially announce the formation of the Rebel Alliance, either at the end of this season or in the or during season 2. That hasn't happened yet. I said that Cassian will escape prison, and part of that escape may be him reprogramming one of the security droids, which will be K2SO. That hasn't happened yet, but the escape is happening. If not next episode, it will be during episode 11 for sure. And now in this episode, which is episode 9, in episode 8, sorry, I said that the Empire is going to kill Marva, who's Andor's mom. It hasn't happened yet, but it did. They did indicate in this episode that they are watching her, so it still could happen. And now I said in the last episode, I said that they were going to introduce the Borg Gullet, which was in Rogue One, was how Saw Gerrera tortured the rebel pilot in that one, but they didn't introduce that, so that prediction was wrong because they used the sound of the of the creatures dying to torture. Bix. Now, episode 10, that's this episode. My predictions coming forward is Andor is going to be planning the escape, and it might either start at the end of the next episode, which is episode 10, or will take place in episode 11. He will escape before episode 12. That's my prediction. And Marva will die at the end of this season. I almost guarantee it. I look forward to seeing you next week. This is getting close, man. There's only 3 episodes left. I love this series. This is so cool. It's not your normal Star Wars series. It's very dark, very cool. It's a lot like Rogue One in so many ways. I love it. I look forward to seeing you next week. And I do need to thank my sponsors. First of all, I do need to thank the Dean Blundell Network on deanblundell.com, where you can find this podcast, as well as you can find my video, the video version of this on the Locker Room YouTube page. And I do need to thank my buddy Army Chris at Fire for Effect Productions. He helped me get all the stuff together that I need for this podcast. I do appreciate all the help that he's given me, and I look forward to seeing you next week. May the Force be with you, always.